Okay, welcome to our Erev Shabbat Parashat class, Parashat Vayishlah. Lessons from the story of Dinah. It's the elephant in the room, the story that no one likes to talk about. It takes up more Pesukim in this Parashat than any other story. In fact, it takes up more Pesukim than any other narrative in the entire Bereshit. It's a 31 Pesukim, the entire chapter. And you know what I'm referring to, of course. It's the story of when Yaakov Abinu had entered into Eretz Yisrael, and he had actually, first after coming into Sukkot, he purchased a plot of land. He came to the city of Shechem. He purchased land there. He settled himself. And before you knew it, you had this incident where Dinah was kidnapped, raped, and a story mixed with controversy in terms of her salvation. Save the hostages, right? In terms of how she was saved and the actions of the sons of Yaakov Abinu. So let's get right into it. We're going to go over the storyline, not reading most of it, paraphrasing. Let's point out some critical nuances and bothersome possible terminologies and Pesukim and events. And let's try to get a handle of things. So here we go. We're in Perek Bereshit, Parashat Vayishlah, Perek Lamed, chapter 34. Starting from the beginning of the chapter, Pasuk Aleph, as I said, it runs through the entire Perek. The story begins by saying, Vateseh Dinah bat Leah. Dinah went out. We'll talk about the fact that that in and of itself is maybe a critical description. She went out. Why does it have to say Dinah bat Leah? Do we not know she's the daughter of Leah? And what about the daughter of Yaakov? It says Asher Yaleda Yaakov, who was then born to Yaakov. It's funny, right? She went out to see Bibnot Ha'aris, the woman of this city in this new land they came to, city of Shechem. See the woman. What does she want? Who sees her? Shechem ben Hamor. Son's name is Shechem. The father's name is Hamor. Havi Nisi Ha'aris. He was the leader of that area. Was his father Hamor? It says Vayikah Otah. He took her. Vayishkab Otah. Vayaneha. That terminology in this context, in almost every context in Tanakh, means she was raped by this person who it would be kind to call him a Hamor. He's the son of a Hamor. That's literally who he is. Shechem, the son of a Hamor. He's worse than that, but we'll leave it at that. The next thing you know it, next pasuk, it says, Vatidbag nafsho b'dinah bat Yaakov. And all of a sudden, he was infatuated by her. He loved her. It's a little unusual. First, he rapes her. Now he loves her. The daughter of Yaakov here, it says. He loves her by the Na'ara. He starts to speak sweet nothings in her ear. Right? He's starting to seduce her, convince her, and apparently trying to cozy up to her after this rape. He tells his father, Hamor, I want this woman for an Isha. Okay? Yaakov, Pasuk here says, heard, what they did to defile his daughter. His boys are in the field. He didn't say, worry, he didn't do anything. He didn't take any action. He waited for his sons to get back. Mind you, how old are his sons right now? The oldest that the oldest son could be, if you do the math, and we won't do the math now, is 14 years old. That's the oldest son in this story. Shimon and Levi are respectively 13 and 12 years old. Startling when we consider the continuation of the story. In any case, and they're out there making business, taking care of the flocks. He decided, for some reason, I won't say a word, take action, protest. I won't go after these guys, did that to my daughter. I'm going to wait till my sons get home. And then Hamor, the father of Shechem, goes to Yaakov, interrupted by the next Pasuk Zayin, which says, that the boys of Yaakov, they heard what happened. They come back from the field. They're depressed. They're enraged. Why? They did a abhorrent act discovered by Yaakov. That shouldn't be done. It's not done. What does that mean? Perhaps it's not done. Some say, like Rashi, even the Jews, the non-Jews weren't doing that. Many argue with Rashi and say that's not done to a princely nation, small nation, albeit, of Yaakov, who violates our holy nation. In any case, Hamor speaks to Yaakov and the boys together. My son fell in love with your son. Of course, conveniently, like the media would do, doesn't mention the rape, right? My son fell in love. Isn't so beautiful? What a beautiful story here. Get the violin out. He says, please give her a hand in marriage to my son. Also, as a great plan. You'll marry with us, and to marry, you'll give us your daughters. You'll take our daughters. You'll live with us. You'll do business with us. You'll live in the land. Why couldn't they do business up till now with them? Perhaps they were banned. Perhaps they had to have special resident status. Okay. He said, you'll then have the opportunity, and it'll be great for you. Just let him marry her, will you? Shechem chimes in, the boy, and he says, whatever you want, I'll give. Dowry, gifts, swanny, whatever you want, I'll give. The sky is the limit. As long as you give this na'ara isha to me, I want to marry her. All right. And then it says, Bayanu b'nei Yaakov et Shechem, bet Hamor Abiv. The boys of Yaakov answered Shechem and Hamor. What happened to Yaakov? What did he answer? He's there. They're talking together. The boys answered. Bimirma. Now, mirma usually has negative connotations with trickery. Deceit. Here the Targum Arami says b'chokhmeta. She says b'chokhma, with wisdom. Right? In other words, it was a complimentary term. Well, what is it? Was it okay? The following was their deceit, so to speak. He said, listen, we can't give our daughters to someone who's not circumcised. He's an arel. It's a disgrace for us. If you would only be like us and circumcise all your males, then we'll give our daughters to you, and we'll take your daughters. We'll be one nation together. Otherwise, if you don't listen to us, we'll take our daughter and go. Now, how do they expect to do that? She's captive there behind some iron fence from the leader of the land. Okay, I don't know. That's what they said. Look at this. The next word, how beautiful. I'm going to do a surgical procedure on my you-know-what. What are they, crazy? It says, he didn't wait a second. He wants it. They really wanted it. Okay, that's how badly. And but they had to sell it on the city, Guys, I have great news for you. They gave him the great news first. The great news is these are good people. You're going to have good business with them. Get in to marry. He says, he didn't say first, they'll give us their daughter. He says, we'll take their daughters and they'll give us their daughters. And a little caveat, little condition, you're just going to have to mutilate your bodies. That's all, a little circumcision. And then he says, everything of theirs, lanuhem, will be ours. Where'd that come from? And, there'll be one people together. They bought it. How'd they buy it so quick? I wouldn't do it, right? Anyways, hook, line, and sinker. The whole city, they said, yes, we'll do it. No anesthesia, mind you. Okay? In any case, the third day, while they were in pain, Shimon and Levi went and slaughtered every male in the city. Hamor, Shechem killed. They took Dinah and they went other sons of Yaakov came and took the spoils because Timeh, they defiled their sister. And they took everything. Yaakov came and he said, Achartem oti. What does that mean? You confused me, you embarrassed me. And we're a smaller number, and they'll come trounce upon us and they'll kill us. And they answered him, should our sister be like a zonah? And that's the end of the story. Is there enough questions in this story? No, I think we'll start backwards. The question that everyone is asking, everyone needs to know the answer to, is how could they? How could they? How could Shimon and Levi, sons of Yaakov, were all complicit, it sounds like, just wipe out a city of people? Are they not innocent people? They didn't do anything wrong. Slaughtered them all. How is that possible? Now, Yaakov, he berated them. We didn't call them murderers. Later on, in the Berachot, in Parashat Vayishlah, he says, Shimon v'Levi ahim kile Hamas mecherotehem. Right? And he said that they're not going to inherit land. And indeed, they didn't. Right? He said that, my honor won't come with them, and they're not going to be beneficiaries of the land of Israel. Why? Arur apam, he says, ki az, evratam ki kashata, halechem b'Yaakov v'afisem b'Yisrael. Cursed is their anger. I'll disperse them in Israel. Now, cursed is their anger. Now, analyze that. It's like a half type of criticism. So that's the big question. But really, you have to ask first what the Ramban asks. Wasn't Yaakov Abinu in on this plan? Right? He was right there when, even though he didn't speak it right in front of them, spoke b'mirma to circumcise. Now, why? What was the plan? Why do you want to circumcise all of them? So what is he so angry about? Aren't you part of the plan? Says the Ramban. And we know that he wasn't about to leave his daughter among the Canaanites there. So what's this whole thing about circumcised? Circumcised that she can stay there? Obviously, there was a real follow-up, behind the scenes as to what he planned to do. How it happens to be the Shimon and Levi were the real slaughterers and killers, but they were all there. What Yaakov so beat up about? And the answer is that obviously, what they expect from this plan, one of two things: either they were going to back out. Certainly, are you kidding me? Surgery on my, please, no. And they'll just say, all right, fine, here's your daughter. We don't want any trouble with you. Or maybe just Hamor and Shechem would have complied. And then they would have killed Hamor and Shechem, something like that. Right? So that was most probably the plan. And the plan wasn't to kill all the people in the city. And Shimon and Levi took stuff into their own hands. And he was angry at them only because that they were off script. They went rogue. They were off task. But that wasn't part of the plan. And why was he angry at them? Well, because they killed a city of innocent people. That's why he was angry with them. And not only that, these are people, he said later, Alav Isheni, said, you disgraced me. You could have made a Kiddush Hashem here. Maybe we could have been Mekarev and engaged these people and taught them, just like my grandfather, my father, and me been doing all our lives. And in fact, right before this Perek started, instead, what the famous line from here from Abraham, Yitzhak, V'ikra lo El Elohei Yisrael, he made a Mizbeah, he called it the godly Mizbeah. This way he started. Why do you think he was well known at that time? He was like Abraham, the Sea Elohim Atah B'tochenu. I could have done well with these people. Instead, you killed them. So he's furious. You can see why. Okay, fine. But let's get to the real question then. What were they thinking? Big question. There are many answers. The Rambam in the laws of Melachim says one of the Sheva Mizvot B'nai Noah is to set up court systems of justice, to mete out justice in an organized fashion. have a judicial branch in your government. And they didn't, apparently. They just let crime go unchecked. And we know that the law is that they violate the Sheva Mizot B'nei Noah. It's punishable by death. So they were liable for death, and that's why they killed them. The Ramban pounces all over the Rambam. He says, first of all, who says it was in their hands at that time to take action and kill and be the court of justice, the sons of Yaakov? And second of all, this was the one out of the 7 positive commands of the 7 no-wife laws. That one isn't punishable by death. So many others also have issue with the Rambam. So the Ramban said simply, what were they thinking? They were thinking that these terrible people, evil people, did an evil act of rape and kidnap with our sister. They were liable for death. And if the king who represented all of them did that, well, then they're all guilty by extension. And that's what they were thinking. Revenge, justice, reparations. And therefore they went into action. That's theory number 2. Theory number 3 is the Sforno. He said they were really protecting themselves because if you saw the way they presented it to their city, it was almost like a guess. You do the milah, wink, wink, and everything of theirs is ours. Remember, they said that because that was their whole point, not to release Dinah, but just to comply with their wish, then be able to take advantage of all their wealth. And so therefore, this was really like a self-defense type of thing. Theory number 4, the Ora Haim takes that step further. Ora Haim says, you know what? They did go to kill Hamor and Shechem. But all the people stood up to defend them. They blocked the palace and they protested. And you know what? They were going to kill Shimon and Levi. This is called a rodef. Someone's going to run after you, pursuing you to murder. You killed them first. That's what Haim paints that picture. And then theory number 5, same Parashat, he says that it wasn't that of the 7 no-wife laws they violated, rather the law of stealing, which is on steroids here, kidnapping. And that was punishable by death. Okay, you have 5 theories. On top of that, he adds on the fact that, they took all the spoils of war because that was what's called boshet. That's repayment for the embarrassment you caused. There's a monetary value to disgrace and embarrassment that you caused us, our family, and you owe us it, so we took the spoils. Okay, so take your pick. Now, bottom line is, Yaakov excoriated them. To what degree, to what level? Let's leave that for now. Criticize them. So they were wrong. We can safely say they were wrong. He cursed them in his berachot, so to speak. They were wrong. But I'll tell you one insight maybe you can take out of this from the sons. And that is, even Shimon and Levi, they replied to Yaakov. Was that respectful? That's the way the story ended. Will you make our sister like a harlot, a zonah? Yaakov didn't respond to that. Isn't that interesting? Who won that argument? Now, we still think they did the wrong thing because Yaakov, at the end of his life, cursed them. Fine. But you can see that they really felt there was some justification. And now, in retrospect, the 5 theories, and maybe there's even more, maybe they're all true, those theories that we went through, really was a calculation that they had, albeit that they were wrong at the end, net result. But what do you see from this? That the children of Yaakov, the Jewish nation, always thinks, calculates, always has formulas to figure out and strategize what is the right thing to do. You want to say they miscalculated and inaccurately strategized? Fine. But it does show you that Jews are thinking people and they have a value system that sometimes is misplaced, but do act with godly values, even when they make mistakes. And I think that's a take home, a positive one from this act, even from Shimon and Levi's standpoint. But I want to find a few other lessons. Let's go back to Dinah. She's lost in this story. A lot of rumors afterwards. Dinah never got married. She unmarried. They cover it up. Sounds very tragic in terms of her life. In fact, the first pasuk, a lot of critique from the Midrashim and Mefarshim, Vateseh, she went out, I just like her mother Leah went out to greet Yaakov. Maybe that was immodest. Say, you'll be with me in the tent. So she went out. That was a negative. You see, Bivnot Ha'aris, what are you mingling with the culture out there? Maybe that's a negative. But really, you can find a few positives, and let's try to. This is the daughter of Yaakov Avinu. And the Mefarshim point of view out. One certainly is that, it doesn't say that he did anything unnatural to her. It says with Shechem, when he took her, how evil it was, but he took her. That's regular, it's not a violent type of rape. He slept with her. It was forceful for Vayaneha. And the beginning of the pasuk adds something interesting. It says, Shechem, the son of Hamor, Nesi Ha'aris, the prince, the president of the land, then raped. Why does that have to be put right before those words? Perhaps to say that despite the fact this was a prestigious person, it was an opportunity for a dinar, he was, trying to wine and dine her, she did not comply. And she was kicking and screaming. And that's why Vayaneh, he raped her. It was forceful because she wouldn't allow, she wasn't complicit. She wouldn't allow that act of defilement to her credit. And you think about it afterwards, why in the world was Shechem speaking sweet nothings in her ear? That's weird. Sometimes, like you see the story of Amnon and Tamar, he loved her before, he raped her afterwards, and then he hated her. That happens afterwards, usually the opposite effect. What's he speaking? He's convincing, he's romanticizing, coming on to her, right? It must be that she was putting up a stink over there. It must be that she was besides herself, that she was crying out. And he says, I want to marry her, but I got to calm her down. And that's why he was cajoling her. And she would have nothing of this. This young girl, Hazita, a young girl, by the way, by herself, kidnapped and raped, the daughter of Yaakov, would have nothing of it. We must find that in Dinah, and that's really here for the taking. And of course, there's Yaakov Avinu, how he handled it. Why didn't he speak until the sons came home? Well, he could have. But then these young boys, these zealous boys, you see they were zealous. What would they have done? He wanted to be there when they got back. He wanted to keep them under control. He wanted to show them there's a way of going about things. Let's go about it in the intelligent way. Let's not make it Elul Hashem. And by the way, bimirya, bimirma, trickery. Is that a negative? Let me ask you a question. Everyone's running around saying, free the hostages. If you had to go and you knew what building they were being held in, there's a guard outside the building, would you lie to the guard to free the hostages? Well, of course. Then what do you think this mirma is a negative for? Sometimes people ask me, how could Moshe Rabbeinu have lied to Paro? I laugh at that question. Lied? He should have killed him. He's a mass murderer. Would you lie to Hitler to free a concentration camp? Of course. This mirma is called for, and Yaakov taught them. Sometimes this is a very necessary deceit to go about. And you know what? Even though it was his plan, when it came to it, who spoke? He didn't speak. The son spoke. Because it was beneath him to actually mouth this plan in front of the people. Let Yaakov stay in his honorable spot and let the boy speak instead. Yaakov kept his position, his dignity, and yet did everything calmly and with great thought. There are lessons here that we can glean from what it really is a very tragic story. But the final one that I'll leave you with is that unusual reaction. And that is circumcised. You got it. Mutilate our bodies, no problem. Okay, Shechem, maybe. His father, maybe. The people of the city, you know what we see? They didn't only want business. They didn't only want intermarriage. It was a small family. A small family. How many girls were involved in the small family? 2 granddaughters. You know what they wanted? They wanted a bidi milah. That's why they agreed so quickly. That milah, that stamp, that sign, that statement, that engravement of God in our bodies is what became throughout the course of history the envy of the entire world. That's why every decree was no more circumcisions, because that is what bound us, that physical covenant, come with everything else, to God at the expense of all other nations. And you see, this is the first instance where they coveted somehow being and having that same relationship and being that same exalted and special nation as we were. This is the first instance of real serious jealousy in Jewish history. And unfortunately, it's played out tragically over the course of history. But certainly, it makes us feel fortunate that the other nations, deep down, they take notice who we are vis-a-vis them and vis-a-vis HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Some of the lessons to take from the story of Dinah. Amen. Amen.